It is Thanksgiving again, and my daughter, my son-in-law, and my grandson are in the kitchen. I love the sound of it all. My daughter humming to herself while she stirs the gravy, my husband carving the turkey, my grandson running around with a plastic truck and shouting little words. My son-in-law is talking to my oldest son about football, and they are both laughing like nothing heavy has ever lived in this house. I love them all. I love this day, but I carry a secret that no one knows except me and him. We never talk about it. We never even hint at it. We live our lives as if that night never happened. This thing between us happened years ago before my daughter and he were married, back when he was just her boyfriend, back when they had broken up and were living separate lives for a while. That was before the wedding, before the baby, before all of this normal life we have now. It still makes me feel dirty when I think about it. I try not to, but it sneaks in sometimes. I remind myself it was a moment of weakness and stupidity. I was married at the time, my husband away on a business trip. My son-in-law was 25, lost, heartbroken, and drinking too much. I was 51, tired and feeling invisible. Those things added up to something that never should have happened. I have 3 children. My daughter, the one married to him, is the middle child. My oldest is practical and calm. My youngest is sweet and unsure of himself. My daughter has always been the one that keeps the family together. She was close to me growing up, and I always thought she had a good head on her shoulders. When she brought him home for the first time, I liked him immediately. He was polite, he helped with everything, he treated her kindly. He felt like someone we could trust. They were a great couple. They fit together naturally. We used to invite them for every holiday and weekend dinner. He'd always offer to help, whether it was putting up lights or fixing something in the garage. He was strong, reliable, and respectful. My husband liked him too. He used to say that guy has a good back and a good heart. There was never anything inappropriate between us. The only awkward moment I ever remember was one Thanksgiving years ago. I went down the hallway to knock on their bedroom door and tell them dessert was ready. When I got close, I heard them. I realized they were being intimate. I froze, turned right around, and went back to the kitchen. I pretended I didn't hear a thing. It was embarrassing, but that was it. I didn't think about it again. Fast forward a couple of years. They hit a rough patch and eventually broke up. They weren't living together anymore. She was trying to focus on her career, and he was kind of floating. Around that same time, my husband and I were moving houses. We had planned the move for weeks, and he was supposed to help us because he had helped us before with heavy stuff. But then they broke up, and I assumed that plan was dead. My husband had to travel for work that weekend to finalize a purchase for his company. He couldn't wait, so I was left to handle the move mostly on my own. I didn't plan on asking anyone for help, but that morning I got a text from him. He said he could still come by and help me move furniture if I needed. I stared at the message for a bit, not sure what to do, and then I told him, sure, if you're sure you don't mind. He said he didn't mind, that he needed something to keep him busy. I told him to text me when he was outside. He showed up right on time, quiet but polite. He looked tired, like someone who hadn't been sleeping. We worked side by side all afternoon, lifting boxes, sliding furniture, packing little things. It was normal. Nothing weird. We were just working. By the time we finished, the place was a mess of boxes and leftover takeout containers. My back hurt, his shirt was soaked in sweat, and it felt good to finally sit down. My husband had texted me that he'd landed safely and that he'd send pictures of the equipment he bought the next day. He told me I should eat something, and I told him he should too. We heated up some casserole and sat at the folding table. We started talking about my daughter and the breakup. He said he missed her, but that they couldn't stop fighting. I told him I thought they were good for each other, that sometimes people break before they figure out how to stay together. We had a few drinks while talking. That was my mistake. He poured 2 more. I didn't stop him. I should have. We weren't flirting or anything. It was just 2 people talking. But I could feel the wall between us starting to soften. Alcohol does that. It makes you feel understood for no good reason. He told me he didn't know what to do now. I told him he'd be fine, that he was young, that he'd figure it out. We both laughed at something stupid. I remember thinking he looked sad. I remember thinking how unfair life could be when 2 good people can't make it work. I am not going to describe what happened after that in detail. It's not something I want to put into words. I don't remember who moved first. I just remember realizing suddenly what was happening and that it was wrong. I didn't stop it. Neither did he. It was clumsy, rushed, and awful in every way that counts. The next morning, the sunlight felt sharp. My phone had messages from my husband about his flight home. My head hurt, my stomach hurt, everything felt wrong. He texted me that he didn't remember much from last night, that he had too much to drink. I told him we didn't need to talk about it. He agreed. That was it. We both knew what we meant. From that day on, we never mentioned it. He came by once to pick up something he'd left in the garage. We made small talk about the weather. My daughter started talking to him again a few months later. She said they were just trying to be friends, and then a few weeks after that, she said they were back together. I smiled and said that was nice. Inside, I was panicking, but I also wanted them to be happy. When she told me they were engaged, I said congratulations and hugged her. I hugged him too. I told them I was proud of them. I said I knew they were meant for each other. I smiled for every photo, hosted the engagement dinner, and acted like a normal mother. The day of their wedding, my husband cried when he gave her away. Everyone was so happy. I remember watching her dance with him and thinking about how fragile everything can be. One bad decision could have ruined everything. One wrong word could still ruin everything. But I stayed silent. I still am. They got married, settled into a house not far from ours, and a year later had their baby. The day my grandson was born, I cried for real. Holding him made me feel forgiven by something bigger than me, even if I didn't deserve it. Since then, we've lived as if nothing ever happened. We see each other all the time. Holidays, birthdays, little weekend dinners. My husband adores our son-in-law. My daughter and he still bicker sometimes, like all married couples do, but they are solid. They have built a real life. He and I have an understanding that lives in the air between us. We are polite, kind, and careful. We never bring it up. We never even come close. If the conversation ever starts to drift into anything personal, one of us quickly changes the subject. We both know the rule. Sometimes when I look at him playing with my grandson, I wonder if he ever thinks about that night. My guess is that he does what I do. He avoids it. He pushes it into a dark corner and locks the door. He fills his life with better things. My husband doesn't know a thing. He still calls him son. They go fishing sometimes. They watch games together. My daughter will come to me for advice when she's mad at him, and I have to give her honest answers without letting guilt show in my eyes. She tells me he's a good man, a great dad, and I agree because it's true. Every now and then, when I'm alone, it comes back. Not the physical memory, but the shame. The image of myself that night, the person I became for those few hours. I hate her. I tell myself she was drunk, she was lonely, she was human, but none of those things excuse it. Still, life keeps going. The baby turned into a toddler. The toddler's talking now. He loves his grandpa's workshop and my cookie dough. He calls me Nana and asks for stories at bedtime. My daughter and her husband bring him every weekend. We sit on the porch and talk about nothing important. It's peaceful, almost ordinary. Sometimes I look out the window and see my husband, my daughter, and my son-in-law standing together by the grill laughing, the three of them in one frame. That's when I remind myself that I will never, ever tell anyone. Not my husband, not my daughter, not anyone. It would destroy everything. We both made a terrible mistake and we buried it. It never happened again. It never will. Now, years later, it feels like it belongs to another lifetime. We pretend we forgot, but really we just learned how to live with it quietly. We built new layers of life over that secret until it was covered by jobs, birthdays, and bedtime stories. When people say every family has secrets, I think of this one. I think of that night and how close we came to blowing up everything we love. I think of how one careless, desperate moment can live forever in your chest. It was just a moment of vulnerability mixed with alcohol and loneliness. It never should have happened, but it did. And now it lives here, under all the laughter and love, invisible and heavy, and I'll keep it there until the day I die.